Hey everyone, Ariana here and welcome back to my channel. As you know, the content of this channel can be pretty controversial, as I go through real-life ethical problems and reason out whether I think they're right or wrong, using my human reason and the Church's teachings. In a recent video, I talked about physician-assisted suicide, and I reasoned out, using the Church teaching in human logic, that it's wrong and it should not be allowed. You can watch that video right here. While scrolling through the comments of this video, I noticed one comment that made me think I might have missed a vital point and I just want to address. This comment said, "Doesn't the Church believe in human dignity? If a person is suffering or can't function because of a disease and wants to die before that happens, shouldn't the Church be compassionate and let them?" Now, I'm not going to go back and restate my whole physician-assisted suicide video because you can just go back and watch it, but I do want to address some of the things said in this comment because I feel like they're vital points that I might have missed. The first thing I want to address is this person says, "Doesn't the Church believe in human dignity?" I think before we can really dive into this comment, we have to first understand what the Church does believe about human dignity and what that means in the Church's eyes. Because I have a feeling that if you really understood what the Church believed about human dignity, you wouldn't be saying the second part of the person should just be able to kill themselves. First off, the Church believes we have human dignity simply because we exist. God doesn't need us. He's God. He created us simply to love us, and He created us in His image and likeness. Genesis 1:27 says, "God created man in His image and likeness. In His image, He created them. Man and woman, He created them." The Bible repeats this statement 3 times, so obviously it's important. In the simplest of ways, our value comes from the fact that we exist. God could decide at any moment that He's sick of us and He doesn't want to deal with us anymore and just stop. But He doesn't. He allows us to exist in a way. And we don't give Him anything in return that He even needs. We exist simply so He can share His unlimited and amazing love with us. And because God is the one that gives us our right to exist, God is the only one who can take that away. We can't even take away from ourselves because we're not the ones allowing us to exist. He is. Not only does God allow us to exist, but He became one of us. He became human. He didn't become a dog. He didn't become a cat. Jesus Christ became human. Dignitas Personae says, "In the mystery of the Incarnation, the Son of God confirmed the dignity of the body and soul, which constitute the human being. Christ did not disdain human bodiliness, but instead fully disclosed its meaning and value." Christ basically disputed any argument against human value by becoming human. He made every single stage of human life holy, from birth to death. Because our value comes from simply being human and existing, nothing we can do, say, go through can ever change our value. And if our value stays the same, that means no one ever has the right to take a life. Because only the person who is giving us that life has the value to do that, and that's God. To wrap this up with a quote from the Catechism, "Created in the image of God and equally endowed with rational souls, all men have the same nature and the same origin. Redeemed by the sacrifice of Christ, we are all called to participate in the same divine beatitude. All, therefore, enjoy an equal dignity." Basically, because God is the author of life and He created us, that is where we have our value. And so no condition, nothing we do, nothing we say, can ever come in between that. A big subject that today is used to define a human's value is humanism. Humanism is the concept of what gives a human value, what makes a human human. It can be confused with utilitarianism, which is the thing that gives a human value isn't the fact that they're human, but what they can do for society and what cards they bring to the table for society as a whole. And it's important to remember that humanism isn't about that. It's not utilitarianism. It's not about what a person can do. When we apply it to the whole, if a person can't function, we should just kill them, that's going into their value is now lessened because they can't function, which isn't what humanism is. That's utilitarianism. In an article by Blum about Jacques Martin's stance on modern pseudo-humanism, he concludes his whole thing about how Martin came to the point of figuring out what actual humanism is by saying, "Martin repeats his basic insight that humanism, as an ism about man, is the theory of the transcendent nature of the human, and he overcomes the inanity of the concept of humanism between anthropology and call for action." Basically, Martin came to the conclusion that humanism is about the spiritual and why we exist and not about the physical and what we can do. Life Issues and Medical Choices talks about humans who can't function to their full potential, whether because of a temporary or permanent mental illness or injury. And they say, these human beings still possess a human nature ordained to rationality, although it cannot be fully manifested because of some physical defect or malady, whether permanent or temporary. Basically, the author is saying that the human dignity is still there. They are still human whether they can function or not. They're still human, and so applying what we talked about earlier about human dignity, we still have no right to take away their life because they are still human. Lastly, I really quickly want to touch on suffering. I could make a whole video about this, but suffering is something that we all live with. We live in a fallen world. Because Adam and Eve ate the apple, somebody peed in the pool, and now we're all swimming in pee. That's the analogy my mom always uses. And while it's not something God wishes upon us, He would never want us to suffer, but because it's something we have to go through, God instead brings good out of the suffering. Suffering can make us stronger in the end. It's like the analogy of if you lift weights, you tear up muscles and it hurts, but when they come back together, they're stronger. This is what suffering can be like. It can be hard and it can hurt, but once we're on the other side, we come out only stronger. That song, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." It's true. Suffering can also bring us closer to God. I love this quote from Life Issues and Medical Choices, and it says, "Only in human weakness do many of us begin to rely on God and explicitly repudiate our own divine ambitions. It's when we are in desolation that we begin to really truly rely on God." How many times do you see the complete atheists in the movies all of a sudden get on their knees and pray when they're in a time of need? Whether it brings out the love of others as they come around to help you through your suffering, or you come out stronger through suffering, God will make good come out of it. I really hope this clears up any miscommunication that may have occurred from that last video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you give this video a like and subscribe down below because I make new videos all the time. And I will see you guys later. Adios, amigos. Quick disclaimer, this was a video for a bioethics project that I had to do. There is no video on physicians to suicide, and this is not what this channel is, but it was fun. Thanks, guys. But you can still subscribe because this is still a channel.